Welcome back to the hood, everyone. I'm Zacharoni, and with 2021 just passed by, it's time to recap what I've been playing and talk about the future of me on YouTube. So without further ado, please be seated, and here's what's on my completed menu so far. On August 27, 2021, I started playing Psychonauts 2, and then on October 6, 2021, I beaten the main story. The third Psychonauts had its rough moments like floaty jumping and not really impactful combat, but it was still a great game with its humor and storyline, and with its sequel, I was expecting an improvement in gameplay and graphics. That, however, it's 2 out of 3, with the game now score a smoother presentation than the last game. That's the first of the 2, but the gameplay is still a mixed bag with jumping that is slightly improved, but combat still feel a bit stiff, where I have to constantly change my psychic powers to a button assignment. As for the last one of the 2, it's the story, that still followed on from the last game and also the VR appetizer, where Raz is now in the main HQ of the Psychonauts in the Intel program that started off simple, but then suddenly expanded itself with a shocking plot twist that I didn't see coming, which got me on a new perspective in the main antagonist, which ended with a final slice that is not only better and less frustrating than the original, but also has some closure to it. However, while it may be a touching story with memorable moments like the spectacular musical number performed by Jack Black, I didn't find it as laugh out loud funny than the original. In fact, the only thing that made me chuckle was the hospital's themed casino level where pregnancy is determined by a roulette table and defibrillators are used for racing against different body organs. But in the end, I gave Psychonauts 2 a gold medal. Its story may not have tickled my funny bone enough, but it got a lot of heart for a successful sequel. On August 28th, 2021, I started playing No More Heroes 3, and then on October 27th, 2021, I beaten the final boss. So, what do you know? I covered a No More Hero game in each of the 4 completed menus of 2021, and so far I prefer 1, Travis Strikes Again, and 2. So where does 3 stand in this? Well, it goes past 2 with its bare but simple story involving Travis taking down 10 of the most dangerous aliens in the universe, and Travis Strikes Again with its gameplay, even if there's nothing exciting about it, despite having some satisfying kickback. I also like how they integrated the Death Glove from that game, where you can slow down enemies and use a Jedi-like ability that hoists them up and throw them across the environment. But better than the original? Well, not quite really. Mainly because I didn't like the structure of defeating enemies, doing jobs, and paying up straight away for the boss fight. I like it when I do everyday jobs, pay up, and then fight my way to the boss. That added a bit more excitement to the experience in the original. Speaking of bosses, these fights are enjoyable, and the roster they got are pretty interesting. Particularly Fu, who might be the most memorable villain I was eager to take out in the final slice, even if it's a cakewalk with its attack patterns memorized quite easily. But the big criticism I have is, get ready for a spoiler if you haven't beaten it yet, some of them get killed off before entering the ring, and they get replaced with another character. Which started off funny at first, but after doing this 5 times, it starts to get irritating. Which is a shame because I really want to face against some of these guys instead of a J-Rapper or an old adversary from previous games that I'm hoping he stayed dead right now. But overall, I give No More Heroes 3 a silver medal for being a more confident and self-aware humorous game that some critics don't realize. Looking at you, lame dot and high PM, even if you are right about the performance in the game. On September 15th, 2021, I started playing Deathloop, and then on November 21st, 2021, I gave up on it. Now, before we start, my first impressions were not that good, given that the game said my PC is too powerful for a higher resolution, resulting in a low cap frame rate. So I put a star on the bottom right corner that indicates that I'm showing footage at 60 frames per second but in a lower resolution, just in case you don't have to alter your video setting. Alright? Good. Anyway, a while ago I tried out Returnal, Sony's third-person shooter that crossed with a roguelike that I end up appreciating then liking or disliking. Mainly because that it's one part solid shooter, but I think it was tackling with the wrong genre. Now comes its rival Deathloop, a roguelike shooter that's in first person, set on a small island where a bunch of idiotic genius decide to create a time loop where they can keep partying for the rest of their lives without aging or killing off entirely. Man, that's depressing. And our hero Colt agreed with that, who wants to escape it, but the only way he can do that is by taking down 8 targets in one day loop. But the thing is that you need to plan how to do that because each of the targets are in separate locations of the 4 zones and you can only last up to 4 time periods starting from morning to evening, and then you reshuffle back to the beginning. Now admittedly, I like this idea because you need to find the right pattern to win the game. But the downside is that you need to do a lot of detective work by returning to previous areas at a different time. And that might have turned a lot of players from this because of how repetitive it can be. And unfortunately, which you might have already known, it did it for me. Which is a shame because I like the combat and stealth with its powers. The banter between Colt and Juliana got me entertained, and it can be rewarding to find a new discovery in the game. But the structure of beating it is not really what I'm looking for exactly. And a review from SkillUp proved my point that I recommend watching if you also didn't enjoy the game, which got me thinking of a concept of my own of how Deathloop should have been. Plus, the Invasion multiplayer where you play a Juliana, which I didn't try unfortunately, was just a distraction when trying to complete the game, which luckily got an option to disable it, but you're still not safe from her when one kill to a resident can instantly alert her. So Deathloop gets a certificate of appreciation, a genius concept, but they're just too much investigation for me to handle. On October 8th, 2021, I started playing Metroid Dread, and then on November 20th, 2021, I beaten the final boss with only 35% of items found. I'm no stranger with Metroidvanias. From the Shadow Complex to the Guacameles, I play my fair share of them. Though admittedly, I never fully experienced a Metroid game in my life. And I said fully because I only played a little of Super Metroid on the Wii U, and Dread is the true Metroid game that I played fully. So now that I have beaten Dread, I understand why the series is appealing to play, where Samus starts at square one at weaker state, and then as I keep playing, I slowly turn her into a powerhouse with upgradable weapons and abilities. Though at first I was questioning the lack of using a D-pad to move my character, but the game doesn't have any platforming that required position. Instead, it focused on the exploration of discovering extra rockets and shield energy. And while the standard enemies do pose a threat, the bosses are the most fun and challenging of them all, with quick ways to do extra damage to them, even if they are secretly quick-time events. Then there's the EMMIs, where you need to be stealthy with them, and they can instantly detect you when you're moving fast or firing your weapon at random. And once you come into contact with them, they instantly kill you. Yeah, sure, there's a quick-time event to escape from them, but it's so quick that it's hard to tell when to press the button. Luckily though, there is a quick save feature that respawns you outside of their zone, which is a good thing because they can be a bit frustrating to get past through. Another nitpick I have is that they keep recycling the mini-bosses halfway to the final slice, which started off simple, but then it starts to get tiresome where I can easily recognize their attack patterns. But getting to the final slice was worth it, where we're presented with one of the best boss fights of this year, where I need to use everything that I learned to beat this mad villain, who had a clear motivation and a little interesting twist that I'll not spoil, which ended with Samus being super OP to finish the game. So my final analysis, it's a gold medal from me. I enjoyed Metroid Dread this year, and I might be playing the other Metroid games in the future, which might be better than Dread, but I'll just have to wait and see what will happen really. On October 19, 2021, I played and beaten Sora's Classic Mode in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. When the final Smash Bros. Ultimate Direct began, I was eager on my feet to see who was the final challenger, and when Mario picked up that one drop of fire and throwed it toward us, we witnessed what we thought would never happen. Sora from Kingdom Hearts was hands down one of the most requested characters to be in the series, right next to other challengers that I'll not mention. But my big question is, how do you transfer Sora's playstyle to a game like this? Well, Sora is a lightweight character, but his jumps feel a bit heavy with low gravity coming down, but since I played the Kingdom Hearts games, I know how he feels to play. Plus, I like what they did with his special attacks because while his magic attacks are tied to one button that switches after use, his other Keyblade attacks are tied to directional inputs like down and special allowed him to do a counter attack that he can follow up with a standard attack. Then there are the extra stuff such as the selection of music they got, which might be short given that some tracks are licensed by Disney, but they are some good music to listen to while playing. Classic mode got a good set of opponents that represent everything from the series, and then there's his stage, Hollow Bastion, which is pretty impressive to look at, and I like how transfer into the Realm of Darkness where you can see characters from the series, besides from the licensed ones obviously. But it's kind of a head scratcher to me, given that this stage takes place near the end of the game. Like, why couldn't they pick Traveler's Town, given that it's the first world the game takes Sora to? After Destiny Island, of course. But overall, Sora gets a silver medal, and he might not be my favorite out of the DLC roster, which by the way I think Sephiroth is the best out of the bunch, but he's still a good customer that I'll be pleased to get back with from time and again with my friends. On October 23rd, 2021, I started playing Pony Island, and then on October 30th, 2021, I beaten the game. Pony Island gets a gold medal, and why am I saying this right now? Well, like I said in part 1 of my leftovers for this, it's better to play the title without knowing a lot. So skip to the timeline if you want to know less about Pony Island, and as for everyone else, here's my full opinion for this title. If you look on the Steam page for this game, one of the tags said psychological horror, where you might think this is a perfect time to play this near Halloween. Well, after playing this, and you all seen my reactions to this, I got surprised and spooked by the title, making me regret playing this game on that month of holiday. But what kept me playing Pony Island is the story, where the game I was playing was completely corrupted. Not by the developer, which is cool by the way, but by Lucifer himself, who is collecting souls from anyone who's playing this game. But not in real life, don't you worry. And while the gameplay, where you need to get your pony to the end while jumping over hurdles and then using an overpowered laser on enemies is basic, it's the hacking puzzle that got my brain thinking. Did lead to a final slice where it was asking me questions that I need to pay attention to that concluded with a choice of deleting the game after beating it. And that's probably had to do with the tickets that I missed out on, but I didn't bother collecting them, mainly because I was satisfied after finishing it. So yeah, like I said, it's a worthy gold medal. It might be short, lasting around 3 hours of my playtime, but it's truly something special. In fact, after playing this, I watched PPE on the Adult Swim YouTube page, which is kinda like Pony Island for some reason. I wonder. On November 4th, 2021, I started playing Demon Turf, and then on December 21st, 2021, I beaten the final boss with only 46.6% of the game completed. A while back I played Here Comes Nico, a 3D platformer where there's no death or punishments that I end up appreciating. But what makes Nico interesting, besides from the lack of death and punishment, is that every character, including Nico, is presented as a 2D sprite. So it was only a matter of time before other developers hop on this wagon, and Fazbear, who created Slime Slen, which had been advertised from the trailers, released Demon Turf, where we follow Demon Girl Beeves, who has one goal in mind: take down the Demon King and rule the tarnation of Hell. But to do that, she must take down the other 4 rulers of Hell to prove that she is worth to face the Demon King, while collecting battery to proceed through the game. So Demon Turf is a 3D platformer, where it presents itself in levels where you need to get from point A to B, and the controls are good, where she can do a jump, double jump, spin attack, and jump spin attack and long jump combo. However, it doesn't quite come as close to another 3D platformer that I played, known as A Hat in Time, given that it had more creativity under its belt, and most importantly, it got better gameplay. I mean, Beeve does control responsively, but she doesn't have any ledge grabbing, given that she is a 2D sprite, and her attacks can only push back enemies rather than taking them out instantly, unless you push them towards anything red or off the cliff. Plus, I'm not a fan of placing checkpoints down because I sometimes forget, resulting in a few try it again from afar montages. As for the final slice, well, it does have its moments like being challenging with pretty good music, but the conclusion feels, well, anticlimactic in my opinion. So the end result for Demon Turf is a bronze medal. I thought it was going to be the next A Hat in Time, but it doesn't quite hit the mark to surpass that title yet. At the start of 2021, I've been playing Wreckfest, Killer Instinct, and Animal Crossing New Horizons for a whole year. When it comes to racing games, there are two types I like, Mario Kart and Burnout. And since Burnout is on hiatus, given that the developer is forcing to move on to other IPs, I found another game that is like Burnout but a little more serious. And by serious, I mean realistic, with drifting that feels stiff to use, and one big hit will put you out of the race entirely. And that's what makes Wreckfest so enjoyable. From a shunt to the rear, to a shove or a crash out, Wreckfest rewards you for being aggressive against your competition, and that proves it in the Demolition Derby, where smashing into the last car never felt so satisfying. Just too bad they don't select this much in multiplayer. I mean, racing against everybody is not that bad, but I think everyone should be picking something that shows the destruction capability of the game. In fact, that was actually shown in career mode, where I was presented with a bunch of side challenges like causing as much damage or taking out a set number of cars as possible. Though some of the events in career mode can be unforgiving, even on the lower difficulty, looking at you Road Slayer, but I still got a kick out of them. Plus, there's tournament mode, where it presented me with a bunch of daily events with new spins to them, and a custom editor where I can create interesting scenarios like me in a lawnmower against a group of buses. So final analysis, a silver medal from me, which had probably been buried under that rubble of what I've been through lately. Next up is a fighter that I can get the hang of, because while most fighting games required you to master the fundamentals of joystick input, Killer Instinct required you to just press a button to chain combos in a satisfying way. Then at any moment, the receiver can activate a combo breaker that destructed their combos by pressing two attack buttons at the same time. However, the attacker can counter their combo breaker with a counter breaker, just by pressing two attack buttons at the same time, allowing them to continue their combos on them. And this is where the mind games comes into play, because while you could counter break them to continue your combos, but your opponent decides to not activate the combo breaker because you activated your counter breaker a bit too early, leaving you wide open for a beatdown. Each character I played throughout the year are unique from one another. From well-rounded to rushdown and zoners, they are different from one another. My personal favorites are Argonos, who is a big chap who can have extra stones inside of him for protection, and Spino, who besides from receiving skulls for projectiles, he's got a slide kick and a dive kick for quick follow-ups against your opponents. So the game is easy to play, but it's also difficult to master, and that proves it when I'm up against level 50 pros and beyond, who have mastered the mechanics and know the ins and outs of when to strike. Plus the presentation across the board, with a killer soundtrack composed by doom metal Mick Gordon, well, just season 1 and 2, which stand out like rap sensational I'm Back to Rise, to the hyper dance Touch Me and I'll Break Your Face, no really that's the real name of it, and the epic wilderness of, if I'm pronouncing this right, Himmelton. So overall, I'll give Killer Instinct a gold medal, and just like Maximilian Doe and pretty much every fighting game fan out there, I want a new Killer Instinct in the future. Christmas card included, please. And now we move on to our last game that I've been living my life on for the whole year, which might be the biggest mistake for me because they announced a lot of new content in November that should have been put in the game from the start. But even without it, Animal Crossing New Horizons might be the most addicting game I played so far, and I'm probably going to be playing it outside of this. So right from the start, after I misspelled my name, I was given a choice of island to vacate in, and then I was given a tent to live in and 2 neighbors to interact with. And as the days go by, I would slowly develop my island with new neighbors, bridges to cross over with, and landmarks like a shop to buy things, and a museum to donate fossils, bugs, fishes, sea creatures, and, something I should have done in spring, artwork. Plus, there's the random events that happen, like the festival with a peacock named Pave, Mom's favorite, and dinner day with a turkey named Franklin, with my least favorite, Easter. That day can blow in this world. So New Horizon got me coming back constantly because of how straightforward it is, and by now, after this video, I won't stop playing it, probably outside when making videos. But I do have some complaints though, like there's no aiming when fishing or shoveling, and it can be a snail pace when creating your own island. In fact, Eurofug4000 made a video that point out some of the things that would change in this game from past titles that I would have preferred if I had played those past titles in the first place. But in the end, I give Animal Crossing New Horizon a gold medal. And before we wrap this up, here's a quick reaction to New Year's Day countdown. Well, this is it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whoa. Okay. Now that was impressive. Don't I have a dancing option? Or singing? Yeah, I think that's the best I can do, really. Any more reactions I can do? No, I think that's all the reactions I can do. No dancing one, really. Well, might as well let Little Papa. And now let's wrap this video up with my future. Oops, sorry. Anyway. Okay, so that's the games I played and beaten throughout the last 3 months. What's going to be next for me now exactly? Well, sadly, I'm gonna put the Gaming Pizza Hut in an exhibit because I'm gonna stop making content for this channel. But it's not the end for me though, oh don't you worry, because I like to introduce a new channel called Live and Let Gaming, and it's going to be a focus on Let's Plays, where you can experience my reaction to the latest games and also the ones I played for the first or second time. And why am I taking this route exactly? Well, out of all the video series I worked on the channel, I found the Leftovers, the Extra Sauce, and the Year Supply series more enjoyable to do because I feel more confident expressing myself. While my toppings videos were a bit of a nightmare to handle because I have trouble pronouncing names in real time, which I'm probably going to be doing right now, and I thought it would be an easier alternative route than the structure I started off with at the beginning of this channel. Plus, I found writing a script while trying to stay in character can be a bit of a head-shaking experience for me, and I would feel in the same way when writing my thoughts on the games in this video along with the script as well. But now I want to put all that behind me and focus on a new fresh start for myself, where I can share my reactions while also enjoying life outside my hobby without typing anything, and thus Live and Let Gaming was born. So be sure to subscribe to Live and Let Gaming, as the first 3 series of Let's Play videos will appear on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays at 3 PM, 6 PM and 9 PM UK time. But until then, I'm still Zacharoni. Enjoy your pizza, remember to watch your hands, and thank you for 4 years of the Gaming Pizza Hut. See ya, cheesy feets. Oh, and have a happy new year, my friends.